The people have spoken.
That's something I don't think I would take a chance on, in my opinion. 218 strikeouts for a guy who was his third year in the league now? That's a lot of strikeouts.
And they're here to deliver.
He wants to be on a competitor, period.
Bringing you the facts.
Jose Abreu's trash. Man, I fell for that hard.
While keeping you up to date.
Man, like what a question mark that is. After you leave Cole, you get him out of the game, and all of a sudden you don't know what you're going to get on the other side.
On all fantasy baseball news.
This guy's a slouch, man.
He's just a potential.
He's a slug.
Dark horse winner of a Cy Young candidate.
Welcome to Bourbon N Ball.
Averaged like 160 strikeouts prior to his breakout year. I wouldn't even call that a breakout year. I would call that a career year because I don't think he'll have another year.
We're going to talk about a lot more baseball. This is just the beginning, guys.
That's right.
I called a bartender. So look, man, come down here. He got down there. So what you want? One bourbon, one scotch, one beer.
All right, man. So after a week hiatus of a little, I had an anniversary to celebrate. Took the week off. We are back here talking about playoffs. Show 64 right here, Bourbon N Ball. I'm Doug. That's my friend right there, Mikey V. We're coming to you with Bourbon N Ball. A little bit about us. We're coming to you from Military Broadcaster Radio, which we call MBR, Patriot Radio. We stream on there. New England Streaming Sports. You can catch us on there. You can catch this episode on there tomorrow, just in case you love us so much you want to listen to us again, which happens sometimes. We have that soothing voice. You can catch us there at noon tomorrow, and they'll replay us again. And, of course, with all that affiliation, obviously, military, Patriot, it's all military affiliated somehow. So for us, for myself, I was a paratrooper in the Army for over 6 years. I have jumps in Netherlands, Germany, Ireland, and over a year deployment in Afghanistan.
Yeah, and my father was part of the Air Force during the Vietnam War. My grandfather was a paramedic during World War II. So, a lot of good times there, too, Doug. Man, can't get it out today.
You take a week off. We take a week off. We were stumbling, man. Stumbling out the gates.
Sound like rookies right now.
So, again, this is Bourbon N Ball here. We like to drink bourbon. We talk baseball, fantasy baseball. This particular episode, I'm going to save you from the crazy introductions because this is actually probably one of my favorite ones, probably of the year, maybe, because what we're going to do is this show is structured off of the wild cards, the division series, and then maybe even talk about, if we have time, maybe the World Series matchups, because there are still two series that are still up for grabs, the Cubs and the Brewers, and then tonight you have Seattle and Detroit. So let's just jump right in. I mean, we're going to dig in. We're going to be talking from wild card to each series, and then after the series, we'll maybe talk about some fantasy impact. Got to throw some fantasy in there, right? And there's a ton of overreaction, underreaction when it comes to playoffs and fantasy players. Comes to mind, Corey Seager. Wins the World Series MVP, has a great playoff year that year, a couple of years ago, and he's automatically a first-round pick. I mean, how did that work out?
A lot of injuries.
That's why we call it an overreaction and an underreaction. And we're going to be bringing those with every matchup. We'll pull some out and just talk about, if those performances helped, they didn't help. Maybe even then talk about the team. I mean, there's a lot of questions to some of these teams that got kicked out, man. There's a ton. Red Sox got a lot of question mark coming up in the future. Yankees got a lot. And I guess, before that, I'm going to take my second step.
Second. Yeah, I think it's the same thing. Like, I was thinking about it all day, to be honest with you, Doug, because I'm like, well, all these teams are getting knocked out. We're kind of all like on the same level field now that, our teams are out. Yankees just got knocked out. Phillies just got knocked out. I know we're going to talk about it all, but it's the rebuild process. And that's one of our favorite things to do is off-season talk, put on that GM hat and kind of get into imagination land with the free agency and maybe some of the deals that you can make in the off-season to improve your team. So it's the best. Who doesn't love that?
Exactly. Exactly. So I mean that's a great intro because first and foremost, let's talk
Whoa.
Yankees Red Sox. So this is the wild card playoffs. It's a best of three, two wins win the series, right? I love the idea. I love the expansion. What I hate is that all three games are played in the stadium with the better record. You can't go one, the other, and then come back. I don't like that. I understand it. I get it, right? I mean, you got the better record. They're three quick games because this is an expansion. We still want to play in October. How late in October is what dictates all this, right? So I get it. I just am not a fan of all three games in one stadium. I just wasn't a fan of that, man. Because in certain stadiums, it's an uphill battle. And to me, Yankee Stadium, it's an uphill battle because the fans, just the atmosphere, I think it just brings so much more to the Yankees as a team. It might not, do anything for them realistically, but mentally, I'm sure it's uplifting for everybody, right?
Well, I 100% agree. I think you nailed it. I get it, but I don't like it. And maybe it's just because the Red Sox were just on the road and we didn't get to see a home game or anything like that at Fenway and just have that same atmosphere like New York did. But yeah, it kind of sucked. And just as a series as a whole, losing to the Yankees to end your year, never a good feeling, obviously. And I thought to myself today, what would you rather have, lose to the Yankees in the playoffs or not make the playoffs at all? And I took not make the playoffs at all. So I think you at least gave yourself a chance with the Red Sox squeezing into that wild card spot. And, we're going to dig right into it. I mean,
Yeah.
Let's go game one, Doug. What a game.
Well, game one to me, let me see. After game one, I went on and I was starting to look at prices for the Blue Jays and Red Sox series at Fenway. You saw in the text. I said, hey, listen,
Yeah.
guys, they already got tickets going for this. So game one, Red Sox win 3-1. Garrett Crochet comes up, goes 7 2/3, 1 earned, 11 strikeouts. I have all 11 strikeouts here. And let me tell you something. This is why you go out and you get a guy like this. Now, just watch. Take a look at these.
1-2 from Crochet. He
in that clubhouse.
little misses. He got him. Wells. He's gone. That's called strike 3. Crochet's night over. 11 strikeouts. Chapman coming in.
I mean, man, that's an ace, right? I mean, that's what you went out and you signed this guy long term. That's what you're getting. To me, he went later in drafts just because there were question marks, right? He had a high innings limit the year before with the White Sox. He had a high one this year for sure, but I think his success, to me, him and Scooble are like 1A, 1B. Like I mean, they're almost interchangeable. And we'll talk about Scooble later on. But from a fantasy perspective, I mean, I'm only saying Crochet, talking about him specifically because he doesn't pitch again, right? This is his game for the series because they didn't win, obviously. Spoiler alert. And I thought this game was managed the right way. I think Cora did an absolutely fantastic job. You got Yoshida coming in. He hits the 2-run double, puts the Red Sox ahead. Crochet's just unhittable. Chapman comes in. Little shaky. I think he did load the bases in the ninth, but he gets out of it and they win the game. You go through 2 pitchers. You have your entire bullpen for the next 2 games. You set yourself up for success. And in my head, I'm thinking, okay, you know what? They got to win. The Yankees will probably take the second game, but I feel like the Red Sox can pull it out. I don't know. That's my mentality. But that game right there shows that Scooble or Crochet are going to go first and second. Either what order, I can't tell you, but that's how they're going to go in fantasy drafts, and that's how they should go.
Yeah, I think going into the year, I think Crochet was maybe a top 5 guy off the board, right? You had, Wheeler, you had obviously Skeens, you got Scooble. He might have fit in that 4 or 5 guy right there, right after. And he was more of the high risk, high reward guy, like we talked about with the innings, not having enough of them. Last year, he was slowed down. He was a trade deadline guy. And then they said, okay, we're going to save him for the offseason. And they really limited him. So we didn't know how far he could go this year. And I mean, he exceeded all expectations and then some. We talk about the high ceiling. I think he hit it. I mean, he had a Cy Young season altogether. That's pretty incredible in its own right. So, yeah, I think next year, I wouldn't be surprised if people want him one. I would totally understand. Scooble, fine. I think at that point, it's a preference on who you want. All those guys are going to be just as dominant, 9 out of 10 times going out there. And then really else in the series, though, it was kind of good to see Judge have his moment, I guess, finally kind of breaking out of that, reputation that he has not being a postseason hitter. So he had some clutch hits, which was cool to see. But still, I think from fantasy perspective, he's still healthy. He finished the season healthy, so he should have a healthy offseason, I would assume. And, maybe look at that shoulder, get that cleaned up. We talked about that from the outfield, the way he was throwing before. But other than that, though, I think, next year he's still going to be a first-round pick. He's still going to be 50-plus home runs, 100-plus RBIs, still a top dog. So, it is what it is with the Sox. The next game, I think we all kind of felt the same way when it happened, Doug, when Jared Duran dove and did not come up with the ball. What are your feelings on that? What's your thought process when that happened?
Game 2, Sox up, Sox 3-4, right? They lost the game.
Yeah.
To me, you see a couple things here. So I do have the clip of that era, and let me tell you something. Red Sox could have won this game so many different ways. But let me show you the era first, because obviously, I mean, he doesn't make the error. They get out of the inning. Story hits the home run. Now they're winning, right? I mean, they're winning at that point. But it unfortunately just doesn't work out that way.
Mm-hmm.
So let me put this up here, and you can tell me, you be the judge.
Judge lifts it to left. Duran running, drops the ball. Grisham will score, and the Yankees have the lead. Jaron Duran had it in his glove, and it popped out.
Tony, 9 out of 10 times he catches that ball. He dove for it. But I'm telling you, Jaron Duran, too.
So, I mean, you see that. You can shake your head. You can be like, all right, well, it's whatever. Obviously, he should have caught it. I think he knows he should have caught it, right? What I learned about this, though, is this tells me, forget the error, forget the play. Look at the staff. You got Bello coming in as your starting pitcher, your SP2. Goes 2 1/3, gives up 2 runs. Like, to me, Bello is not an SP2. I'm sorry, he's not. He's a guy. He's a back end rotation guy. He's not this big game guy to me. If it's a 5-game series, okay, but in a 3-game series where you could win this game, like this is where Cora's judgment to me comes in a little shaky, because he's leaving guys out there longer than he should have. You have a couple runners on, and he's letting, I think it was early, right, stay out there and try to get through it. It's not the regular season.
Yeah,
if that's the regular season, you let him get through it. This is postseason. This is make or break. This is win or go home. You don't let a rookie pitcher in Yankee Stadium stay in there with runners on and a must-win game. It's not an experiment time. You take him out and you pull him, and he doesn't, and he gives up a couple runs, and he does that in Game 3. Cora does the same thing. Like, I don't understand the short leash he has with some players, and some he doesn't, because there are a couple of guys he just, he yanked real quick with, only a certain amount of pitches left, and then the relievers, he just stayed out there. And I'm just like, dude, this is must win. Like, we'll talk about the Tigers, but they had a bullpen game and they ended up winning it just because, we're mixing and matching guys and we're going 1 inning, 2 innings. And that's all you need. In a must-win game, you close it out and you finish it. And it just bobbles my mind how Cora managed from game 2 and 3 versus game 1, how he managed that bullpen. But that's what happens when you only have one ace.
You don't have a number two. Bello's not a number two. We'll just start with that first, right? There was a chance where we could have gotten a number two. We talked about that Jared Duran for Dylan Cease trade, and I know it doesn't sound great, but I would rather a Dylan Cease in my game 2 start than a Brian Bello. This guy has a little bit more veteran. He's got a little bit more moxie. He could probably live up to it a little bit more. I don't know, but I'd rather have a guy like that than a Bello, though, going into that game. Yeah, and with Alex Cora going back to the management, it's been tough. It was tough to watch. And we, like you said, you saw the Tigers pull guys early, and they've had bullpen games, like you said. That's the name of the game. You can't give up more than 2 or 3 or 4 runs. Then you're going to, you're done. A lot of these games, there's only maybe about 5 or 6 runs being scored between 2 teams in a very competitive game. Sometimes you have one game that goes a little lopsided, right? But for the most part, these are low-scoring baseball games, so every single run matters. You need to utilize, like you said in the beginning, Doug, in game 1, you had your whole bullpen. After your game 1, you had your whole entire bullpen, so don't waste it. You still have to get to the next series. You can't be thinking too far ahead after this. I don't think I'm accusing of that, but just again, you utilize what you had there for game 2 and game 3. It was just it was disappointing to see, to be honest. And I don't know. We'll see what's going to happen with them in the offseason. I don't know if Jared Duran's going to be with the Red Sox. I don't know if that's a hot take or not, but that's definitely a guy I could maybe see moving on. Still has some name recognition. There's a pretty decent ceiling. A lot of teams like those, 4 or 5 tool players. I think Duran can be that when he's 100%. But, yeah, the Red Sox are going to need to do something with that rotation.
So you got the error. They lose the game.
Yep.
You go into game 3. You're saying, all right, well, Early was out there for a couple innings. They tried to use him. Maybe Cora's game plan was, hey, let's just kind of wash this game out and try to finish tomorrow strong, right? Let's go into game 3 strong. Well, unfortunately, it didn't work out that way. So you got Schlittler, the Walpole native himself, goes out, pitches a gem. 12 strikeouts, 8 innings pitched, closes the door, no chance for the Red Sox to come in and score anything. Look at these strikeouts, and you be the judge, and you tell me.
Paul, strike 3, 100-mile-an-hour heater. Big pitch, 99, right on his fist. Paul, strike 3, right. I've really ever dealt with these guys before. Another strikeout. He went with a cutter. They'll have to throw down to first. It's another strikeout. That's 5 in the game. Swing and a miss. That's a strikeout. And he is also gone chasing. Did he go? Yes, he did. He's got 9. Yoshida way out of the strike zone. There it is. Looking for his 11th strikeout. There it is. A dirty dozen for Schlittler as Gonzalez is gone.
That filthy stuff. So he goes out, they win the game. Here are the overall numbers, right? You got Story, who hit 385 for the series. Bregman was 300. Yoshida 571. Judge showed up 364. Volpe 364. So after this series, I mean, obviously we talk about what the Red Sox need. They need pitching. I think they need pitching more than hitting, but they need both. Bella's not a number 2. We already talked about that, right? Crotchet goes early in drafts. I think Duran might go a little later. Bregman probably goes the same, depending where he is, but I think he's going to be the same. He doesn't go up or down. The playoffs didn't move the needle at all. I think the season, Bellinger goes earlier. He had a great year. I think Max Fried goes earlier because it's a guy who kind of had starting to get that injury claim in Atlanta, comes here, has a really good year. I mean, has an amazing first half, tails off, but he pitched great in game 2. I think he had 8 or 9 strikeouts too. I think Schlittler, he goes early. I mean, he's definitely gonna go way earlier just because of that's an overreaction. I mean, I had him toward the end of the year and he was good, but he's gonna go so much earlier. It's an overreaction. And then to me, Rondon, he'll probably go right around where he was drafted. But those are just some of the takeaways I got from the series. Some overreactions, some under, but I think for me, Cam Schlittler is probably the biggest overreaction you're going to see.
Definitely agree. I think he looks like a stud. I mean, he has the build for it, right? Looks big guy, lanky guy. Looks like he's got some good mechanics, right? He's very young, like you said. You've had him in fantasy, obviously, and you've seen him pitch a few times. And obviously, this was a little bit of an outliner start. We didn't. He 8 innings, 12 Ks. That doesn't get much better than that. Especially in that moment, and people are going to remember that, and that's why they're going to overdraft. And I totally understand it. I respect it. I hope he ends up being a really good guy. Obviously, a local guy, Walpole, Mass, right? But I'm just not jumping the gun yet on a guy like that. That could be like a Spencer Strider, mistake. I don't know. That's the name I'm going to throw out there. But I think the guy that you talked about a little bit was Bellinger. His stock's going to go up. Dude, let's talk about Cody for a second. I think he's going to opt out. He's going to opt out of his contract after this year. So I don't know if it's a guarantee he's going to be back in New York or not. I think it's a great fit for Cody Bellinger, but I don't know if he's going to go back because I think there's going to be some really nice offers for him. Don't forget, this guy's 28, 29 years old. Like, he still has a lot of baseball left. And, the way they just throw the money around in baseball now, why not put your hat out there and see what else you can get? I think the contract was only for 20 or 25 mil. He could be potentially making 30 million next year, 35 million. So some team will pay for that. But again, one of the top first basemen in the league this year. One of the highest scorers, tough position to fill. I don't know if he's going to carry over that outfield. I think he is. I think he played enough games in outfield this year, so he's going to have a couple designations still. That's a nice pick right there. I think much earlier, than when he was drafted this year. I would argue maybe late second, third. I don't think that's unrealistic.
No, I think he already came out and said even if he does opt out, he still wants to stay in New York. Obviously, money talks, but he did come out and say he wants to stay there. But again, what are they going to do? I mean, Goldie comes off the books. There's still holes in that lineup. Like, Judge. I think their main target should be re-signing Cody Bellinger, and then try to get another big bat in there because, we'll talk Stanton, and he had a pretty nice resurgence the last couple weeks of the year, and then that came into this series. But when we go over his numbers for the division series, they're not pretty. So Stanton's not the answer. Like I said, so yeah, they do have a lot of question marks, and Red Sox to me have a lot more question marks. But and let's not forget here, the Yankees are playing without Garrett Cole. Like that's huge, okay? Because if you have a healthy Garrett Cole and you're going, Cole, Fried, maybe Schlittler or Rondon, I mean, you're talking about that's a rotation that'll get you to the World Series hands down.
Man.
But they lost him, right? I mean, it's always fun to say, well, what if? We live in the present, not the past. So he's hurt. He'll be back next year, right? Second half. Maybe he sparks the lineup. Maybe they make a nice little run. I mean, nothing tells me they can't make it back. But it'll be interesting to see. And that's another guy that I really wonder if, obviously, I think people will reach for him. It's just a matter of how far they're going to reach. I mean, we've seen the pitchers come back and just not look right. You said Strider. Strider did not look good this year coming back. Sandy at the beginning for the first 2 months, he didn't look good. He put it together the last month, but at that point, you might not even be in the fantasy playoffs. So how helpful is that for you?
Mhm.
I mean, there's tons. Shane Bieber, he looked good, but lately he's kind of looked mortal, like not the Bieber that you're used to seeing. So I don't know what kind of Garrett Cole you'd get, to be honest. Maybe a mix of both, good and bad.
Do you get like the Jacob DeGrom type from Texas when you just got back, from a Tommy John? Like it, because I do put Garrett Cole in a different category when he is healthy. He is one of the top pitchers. You can't say top pitcher without him. So it's tough to raise your hand and be like, man, Garrett Cole, I don't know. I think his stock is going to be depending on when he's going to come back. That's my take on that. I think if there's a timeline on when he is going to come back, if he comes back in May, I think he'll go potentially 5th or 6th round. I think he can go pretty high because of what he can come back with. Again, he got hurt early in the season, spring training. So he's going to have this whole entire year, this whole entire off season. He is going to be back, I think, somewhat in the tail end of the first half, or maybe even sooner, hopefully. But if he's a valuable guy and he's going to be on a winning baseball team regardless, I don't think the Yankees are going to just drop out of thin air after this year. I still think they're going to be competitive next year too. So he's going to be valuable. That's a guy I'd probably like to get my hands on.
And you're thinking 5th round?
I think 5th round's fair right now. In a 10-team league, I'd still put him probably like in the between 45 and 50 top guys. Especially if he's healthy. Same thing with Acuna when he came back from his ACL injury. There, he was about a 2nd, 3rd round guy, and he got pretty good production. It wasn't obviously MVP Acuna, but still got decent production out of him. And I don't know. I just think Garrett Cole's just legendary. So it's tough to bet against it.
He's a Verlander-esque type pitcher.
Yeah.
Like that workhorse guy,
On that ceiling level, yeah, he's definitely one of the top guys in baseball in the past 10, 15 years.
Yeah, no, I'd agree. I'd love to get my hands on him. It's just I don't, like you said, it's all going to matter when he comes back, and it's going to matter on your drafting. If you're going, kind of pitcher heavy or not. I mean, it all depends what your strategy is. You know what I mean? If you load your rosters with a bunch of pitchers and now you need bats, why would I go out and get a Garrett Cole? But if I go out and I draft some really, really good bats and maybe a couple a Logan Webb later on, then I go out and I get a Garrett Cole just because the upside. That makes more sense to me, but it's your strategy is what's going to dictate to me when and where you draft Garrett Cole.
Yeah. And I think I think it's better to draft bats early on than it is pitching. And, if you don't get one of these top pitchers, I still think after this year, you can really say you can find really good value pitching very late in drafts. There were a lot of guys that dropped that did really good production this year. Robbie Ray was late. Brandon Wu was late. And, there's guys you can find that can be top guys. I think when you find top hitters, they're tough to find, because if you get a top tier guy at a position, it's the best because they're scoring about 40 or 50 more points than the next guy. And those guys have monster weeks sometimes that just carry you to wins. It's just so valuable to have a Jose Ramirez, a Juan Soto, just one of those guys to have in your lineup because they can really carry you to a win just in 1 week.
Right. And it's funny you say Juan Soto because let's dig into the next wild card series, right? So you got the Tigers and the Guardians. Spoiler alert, Tigers do win 2-1, but it does go 3 games. So game 1, Tigers take the first one 2-1, and Scooble, who you were just talking about, he has a gem. 7-2, 1 earned, 14 strikeouts. We have those highlights right here. Let me pull them up. Take a look at this.
Nasty pitch.
And then 100, as many of his relatives have, now that they're the Guardians. Swing and a miss. Rocchio swings and misses half of the third in Cleveland. Breaking ball swung on and missed. And then a nasty changeup for strike.
Oh.
Walked 2, struck out 6, and now 7. Swing and a miss.
Oh.
Swing and a miss. Check swing, strike 3. Wow. As high as 105.
You can throw any pitch you want right now.
And he did. Noel just completely overmatched.
Oh my God, disgusting. Disgusting.
Oh my
I kind of felt like I was watching Crochet. Very similar stuff, man. Both throwing hard, both up there. So they win the first game. Not a lot of highlights to this series because there really wasn't much to talk about. Tigers win the Guardians win the next game 2, 6-1. I mean, Bo Naylor hits a 3-run home run. J-Ram gets on base 4 times, 3 walks. Game 3, Tigers win 6-3, and some of the highlights to that, you got Kerry Carpenter hitting 400 for the series, Riley Green 364, and Javier Baez 455. Here's the kicker: the Guardians had no one hitting over 300. J-Ram 250, Kwan 167. So now it's like, there's a lot of questions the Guardians ask. Where do they go from here? Do they wish they had Bieber? Would that have helped them? Flaherty started game 2. He was the one who got rocked. Does that hurt? Obviously, I think he goes a lot later in drafts. I mean, there's a lot of questions you got to ask yourself. And I think the Guardians, to me, they're in the same position. Actually, I think they're in a better position than the Red Sox. I do, personally, from an offensive standpoint. You got J-Ram, you got Kwan. Those 2 hitters are probably better than any 1-2 the Red Sox have if Bregman opts out, which he probably will. So I think their offense is good. Obviously, they need pitching. So, like I said, the Guardians to me are in the same spot as the Red Sox. It's like they can go either way. This offseason is going to dictate if they can go further and if they can't. I like I said, I mean, I'd love to see maybe Josh Naylor go back there. I mean, he had a great year. Great year. He was number 1 overall fantasy first baseman. Josh Naylor. Talk about a late pick, But I think pretty much everybody's there's no overreaction or underreaction with any of these players on any of these teams because they're going to go exactly where they went last year. J-Ram will go in the first round. Kwan will go somewhere in the 5-6 area, maybe a little before that, depending how people reach for outfielders. Skubal is going to be one of your top pitchers off the board. So there's really nothing that surprises me about any of that.
No, not really. And I think like this offseason too with the AL Central, there's going to be a fun rebuild because it really, like you said, it's going to dictate really the men from the boys next year. It's a wide open division going into this year, but I think Detroit took a step forward this year, obviously winning this series, going into Game 5 tonight. But at the same time, AJ Hinch, I think, is doing a great job as well managing that team. I think he's done a great job since spring training. I think there's been a lot of momentum over there. And, if Bregman does join them, that was his second choice. He was about to sign the paper. He was about to walk on the field, and Red Sox came in with a monster deal. So it switched real fast. So I don't know if he still has that in the back of his head, rejoining AJ Hinch, joining that team. That would be huge for them. And for a guy like him, too, I think that would be good for his fantasy baseball stock. Bregman going there, just because that's a base hits paradise there with that open field. And, he would look really good, playing with Gleyber Torres. And, I think they're another piece away. There needs something else, but they can really separate themselves. And then going to Cleveland, I think there's a lot of holes still. I still think there's not really like that other power guy. They have Kyle Moranzo there. and he had a pretty good year. He had 25 plus home runs, but the strikeouts were there, and it wasn't a productive. I feel 25 home runs. You know what I mean? Like it's not worth the squeeze sometimes. So they just need another guy like another. I'm not saying another J Ram, but they definitely need another bat in there. And starting pitching, they could probably use one or two extra guys in there. Tanner's pretty good. Obviously, Gavin Williams, I think, took a big step forward. I think he pitched really well in his wild card game, so that was encouraging. I think his stock went up in fantasy a little bit as well. So it's a team that's always going to stay, competitive. I think Stephen Volk is a good vocal point for them, and he's kind of with it with baseball. He just played only a few years ago, so he's a modern day guy. And I don't think they're going to go anywhere, but I do think if the Tigers do make the right moves, they can really separate themselves next year. It's not going to be as close.
Who do you see them trying to go after? Not the Tigers, but who do you think is a good fit to go to Cleveland? Maybe pitcher, hitter, either or.
Man, it's so tough because like the markets, the middle market's so tough for them. It's what's available, what's out there. It's going to sound crazy. I can see maybe like a Merrill Kelly. He's going to be a little bit older, obviously, next year. But it's kind of like a mid guy. He was a trade deadline guy going into this year. He's going to be out there. He's not. I don't think he's on anyone's wish list, but he's affordable, and I can see him kind of fitting that rotation, being that veteran. And then I don't know, because like I just say the name, it fits, but doesn't mean he's going to be good. Well,
it's funny you say that because you say that name, and I'm like, well, that's a guy I think the Red Sox would probably go after too. And that's why these organizations are so similar, because I think the same. I think he's a guy that's not on your wish list, but if you have him at the back of the rotation, it's not a horrible back of the rotation guy to have. He's a successful year, obviously career year kind of for him, and he's 36. He'll be 37, but yeah, it's funny you bring that up because I could see him going to the Red Sox too. They love to dumpster dive.
They do. They like James Paxton's. They love that stuff. That's right up their alley.
All right. So we're just moving on with these wild card series. So we talked the Red Sox. Red Sox lose, Yankees win. Tigers end up beating the Guardians, which was a shame because that's a great story, right? I mean, to be in a position the Tigers were in, come out and end up winning the division is insane. So that brings up kind of almost another lackluster series with the Cubs and the Padres. Nothing really to write home about. You got game one, Seiya Suzuki hits a home run. The Cubs bullpen holds strong. They win 3-1. Then Machado comes out. He hits a 2-run home run in game two. Padres win 3-0. Dylan Cease goes 3 2/3, 5 strikeouts, only does 69 pitches. And then game three was the most exciting of the three. You got the Padres 1, Cubs 3, bottom of the ninth. Merrill homers to lead it off to give him the 1. You got a runner on. You got Xander Bogaerts up. And then you got this awful, awful call in the bottom of the ninth in a wild card make or break go home game. Take a look at this. This is bizarre. Bizarre call.
Still lead the 2 with a solo home run in the 9th inning, and Xander Bogaerts is up on a 3-2 pitch. And I'm not a Padres fan, but this really bothers me. There is no reason why MLB cannot implement the challenge system in October.
A 3-2 from Keller. And strike 3 called. DJ Rayburn just bailed out Keller, and Bogaerts knows it.
Zone to be able to spit on this pitch is a great at bat. He should be on first base.
That's a tough call, man. That's bad. If you watch the highlights later on, Xander, he was chirping for the rest of it. He was just pissed off. He has every right to be, but as a series as a whole, I thought, based off of certain performances, I actually learned a lot, honestly. Michael Busch had a really nice series. He's having a really good division series too. He hit 400. He's got a couple home runs. This was in the wild card. Nico Hoerner, I think, is going to go a little higher. He's had a great year for second base. He hit 364. Jackson Merrill, we talked about, that's a sleeper, right? Because he had a really bad first half, but last month he kind of tore it up, right? He hit 300. He could be a good value pick. Luis Arias only hit 182, but he never strikes out. So I still would take a flyer on him. You got Tatis, who hit 0.83. Oh my God. Talk about over, like, I'm not a Tatis guy, and I don't understand the hype, you know. But as far as fantasy impacts, I think Tucker might go a little later just because the injury. I don't know. We'll see what happens, where people are going to value him at. He might not go in the first, I don't think, anymore, personally. Nico should go earlier. Shota should go a lot later. He should go a lot later. He has not looked good at all. I think PCA will go earlier than last year, but not earlier than what he probably would have before he started flaming out in the second half. Second half, people were talking about a second round. Now, probably fourth, maybe fifth. And then on the Padres, like I said, Merrill will go later than he did this year. But that'll probably be a steal. Tatis should go later. Arias should go later. But, Arias, 30 strikeouts on the year. Cease should probably go way later. So I think the playoffs really, to me, kind of bring in perspective how good or how bad players really are. I mean, that's how I look at it. And Tatis to me is just an overrated player. Overrated.
I think from a competitive standpoint, definitely does. I think it does say a lot. And, Tatis is still going to be, I think, top 10, 15 outfielder. I just don't know. I don't like the flare either. I'm just not a flare guy, and I don't know. I feel like I always get burned by him too with injuries. It's just a guy I'm not going to be reaching out for. There's actually a few guys on this list that I'm not going to be reaching out for. PCA, I just don't trust it. The second half that he had, the series that he just had, it was tough to watch, a guy struggle as bad as he did with all those strikeouts and just, and you saw the potential in that first half. It was awesome. MVP candidate type play, and just fell apart. So I'm not at that second, third round, fourth, and, probably not. This is probably when I'm going to start maybe drafting a pitcher at that point, or a round of them. I don't know. And then you got the fifth, again, is he a top 50 player? If you're doing a 10-team league, it's a question mark. I don't know. I haven't broken anything down yet, going into next year, but I think it's a question mark. I don't know. So, guy I'm not going to touch. Same thing with Shota. And I think Shota is kind of the cat's out of the bag with Shota. After last year, had a fantastic year. I'm sure a lot of teams broke him down, and obviously struggled with the injuries early on this year as well, and coming back and having a lot of these clunker starts. He only had maybe, 3 or 4 really good competitive starts that he had. So, that's going to be a late rounder. I'd still think maybe 10th round, 11th round. I think he'd still be there in the 10-teamer. I don't know if he's in that top 100 there. What did he finish this year? He didn't even finish, I don't think, in the top 30 starting pitching this year. So I'm just not buying. So it's funny. This series was more about what I'm not doing than what I'm going to be doing, I think. So same thing with Tucker too. Tucker's going to still be a top pick regardless, wherever he goes, wherever he signs, whatever. But man, he just had a bad second half, huh?
He killed me. And that's kind of, he left a bad taste in your mouth. It happened with Flaherty. Yeah. Now it's Tucker. You have him, you trade for him. You're like, all right, trade the barn for him, try to make a playoff push. And he gets hurt. He's out for a while, comes back, he doesn't do anything for you. It kind of just leaves a bad taste in your mouth. You're done with him. And that's kind of where I am. Even if I had an early pick, I don't even know if I'd want him again, just because he gave me so much heartache. It's like a divorce. It's like, I don't think I want to go back, but I miss him, but I don't want to go back. So I don't think I would draft him back. I don't think I would. Nope. And especially if he stays with the Cubs, I feel like there's so many better destinations for him that he would fit. I'd rather see him go to. I see him if he does, just pretend for a little while, pretend. Let's say he goes to Fenway. He, to me, reminds me of Jason Bay. Jason Bay, 40 doubles, 25 homer type guy. Like that to me is a Tucker, and I think he'd be a good fit there, but he'd also be a good fit anywhere else, to be honest with you. Mostly anywhere else, I don't know. It's going to be really interesting to see what happens with the Yankees and what route they go and all that stuff. Because we'll break them down a little more when we get to the division series and break down some of their stats for the postseason. But a couple surprises and some you're like, well, what are they going to do next? I mean, Ryan McMahon, is he the answer? You're going to go forward with Ryan McMahon? And I mean, come on, let's be honest. Like Trent Grisham, was he a surprise? Of course he was. A great surprise. He wasn't even starting the first half of the year. He was just a bench player. Then you put him in your lineup. You think he's going to do that again? You really think he's going to do that again? I don't know. And I think the tape is out, like it is on Shota, like you said, right? I don't see him putting up those numbers again. And people are going to overdraft and overvalue because he did it for a half a year, Let him. I don't know. Maybe they want Tucker. You go out, you get a Tucker and you get a Bellinger and then Judge. That's a scary, scary lineup. Very scary. But
yeah,
it's always fun.
I was thinking a little bit ago, we always talk about Josh Naylor. I mean, what about the Yankees? They could, if they lose Bellinger by a chance, or even if they get Bellinger back, Naylor could still fit that lineup pretty well too, because I don't think Paul Goldschmidt, I think he's on a 1-year deal. So he'll be a free agent after this year as well. That's a guy that could go to the Red Sox too.
It's funny you say Naylor. Naylor hit a double. He stole third, and then he just scored a run against Scooble. Mariners were up 1-0.
See, it's crazy. I think he's such a good player. I just don't think he gets the recognition, because maybe it's not a household name or whatever. But yeah, those guys from CBS, man, they didn't give him the respect I feel that we do for him. And they're saying they don't know where they should draft Josh Naylor. And I think it's pretty clear that he's clearly a late first, early second round guy. If you obviously late first is aggressive a little bit, but easily a second round guy. Right? Am I crazy?
Well, it's going to sound even crazier. He's probably a top 3 first baseman for sure. And when I say that, I'm saying he should go before Freddie. He should go before Bryce Harper. And these are names. They're names. But if you look at the overall numbers, they're older. They're not producing. I mean, this is a guy who can hit 30 home runs and steal 30 bases. And it's weird because I feel like J-Ram and him are very similar in their game, make a lot of contact, can steal bags. They're almost identical players. I think J-Ram has, more power. But, I mean, both of them under the radar, underappreciated, both of them. Because you talk J-Ram, you talk top 5 pick, and you don't really hear a lot of people mention him. Obviously he is, but I'm saying Soto, Judge, the sexy guys. And then J-Ram isn't really a sexy name, but you know what you're getting with him. He's a top 3 player,
it's tough. Bobby Witt, just an up and coming name, same thing, just all these guys that are, I guess more appealing, I guess. But J-Ram's the dude. He's still the dude. He showed it this past year. He's still got it. It's no doubt. Guy's on his way to a Hall of Fame career.
Dude, what has he got? 250 or something like that? He's
switch hitter.
He's a Hall of Famer. I think he already is. I mean, we looked at his numbers. I think he already is. I think
switch Chipper Jones.
Yeah. Yep. All right. So then let's go on to the last wild card game, and then we'll take a break. So I think we all knew how this one was going to end. Dodgers sweep, get the brooms out. Honestly, this kind of reminded me of what's that Adam Sandler football movie where they go on. It was a remake with Burt Reynolds with the Heisman Trophy.
Longest Yard.
Yes, it reminds me of The Longest Yard because in that movie you have a great team of guards that needs a warm-up game to boost their confidence to go into the next, when they play the bigger teams. This is a warm-up game for the Dodgers, unfortunately. It's a warm-up series. We all knew that Cincinnati just didn't have what it took to get out of the first round, to get out of the wild card. No matter who they played, they probably would have been dropped anyways. So first game, Dodgers win 10-5. Ohtani hits 2 home runs. Blake Snell, 9 strikeouts, 7 innings, 2 earned. Game 2, Dodgers win 8-4. Yamamoto, 6 2/3, 9 strikeouts, no earned. I have that film. Take a look at these strikeouts.
Swing and a miss, struck him out. Swing and a miss, struck him out. A heater at 96. Swing and a miss. Yamamoto gets the strikeout. And swing and a miss, struck him out.
Quadrants of the strike zone.
Swing and a miss and a curveball.
18s, other great 18s.
The 1-2 is cut on and foul tipped into the mid. Swing and a miss. He struck him out. Dodgers by a run. Yamamoto. Swing and a miss. He struck him out. Dodgers lead 7-2. Breaking ball. Outside corner. Ring him up. And it is strikeout number 9 for Yoshinobu Yamamoto.
You know, once again, the location. I mean, this is ridiculous. Look where the glove is. He just put it there. He didn't even need to frame it, really. It was already beautiful.
I mean, he had everything going. I mean, he looked a part of the ace. Like, he looked great. Some key takeaways, you had Betts. He hit 667 the series, which was only 2 games. So, Teoscar Hernandez hit 400. He had a couple home runs. As far as fantasy impacts, I think on the year, this kind of showed me that Yamamoto will probably go earlier than he did, maybe a round earlier, because he had a really good year. He did have clunkers here and there, so I don't think he's that ace, but still like a top 15, I think, off the board. And we'll talk about the Dodgers staff because I think even with Kershaw leaving, they're still going to go with a 6-man rotation next year. So again, beware because you might not get those 2 starts at all. It all depends how things will line up. But I think Yamamoto will go earlier. I think Freddie should go later, much later. Betts might go a little later just because he struggled, but he turned it on in the last 2 weeks of the season. He's turned it on this postseason. Might boost him up a little bit more, but I still think overall he'll go a little later. On the flip side of that, with Cincinnati, I think Lodolo might go earlier. And I definitely think Ellie De La Cruz is going to go later. Like we had talked about, we discuss it all the time. So many strikeouts, and if you're not hitting home runs or stealing all those bases like he did last year, he's not a top 1, shortstop. He's just not. And I think he finished top 5 or something. So I don't think he's going to be off the board as soon or earlier as he was before. But Lodolo had a pretty good year when he's healthy. He's a stud. It's good takes, I like Yamamoto. I think he's going to go a little earlier too.
Yeah, I do too. He looks sharp, and that's what you get when you sign a guy like Yamamoto coming from the KBO. He knows big game mentality. He's not unfamiliar with it. So going into a playoff game like he did, pitch like he did, that rocks. And I think it was mission accomplished altogether. I know we're going to talk about the rotation later. But the goal was to get healthy for the playoffs. And obviously in the beginning of the year, we didn't know if that was going to be the case. And now that we're in October, it's October 10th, and they're all healthy and they're all pitching well. So I think that's a mission accomplished. I think they got their rotation to where they wanted to this point exactly. So that's good on them. And like you said, maybe they were 2 quick games. They were pretty easy games. But I think the overall takeaways, though, is I think Hunter Green's legit. I think Hunter Green is still a top 15 pitcher. I think Yamamoto maybe stepped up a little bit more into a maybe top 10, 12 type guy. He's right on that fringe, I think. I think he is a quality pitcher. But like you said, these larger pitchers, it's going to be far between two starts. So you're not going to get the luxury of that all the time, but you're going to get the luxury of quality. And sometimes that's just as good. So that's been good. And then you also mentioned Freddie and Mookie. I think they just take a step back in the sense of just going back maybe one round. They're not first rounders, but Freddie can be a second rounder. Mookie could be a second rounder. I could see Freddie going early third, late second. I think that's where I put them right now, but they're definitely not in that top 15, even top 10 category anymore at all in my book. I think there are a lot more better selections out there. But again, they're going to have more wear and tear. They're, moving on. So they're going to have to play another series, another series going down. They're playing late into October. I'm sure these guys are going to get a little bit older. There's going to be some fatigue. And like you said, Freddie, what's he going to be, 36 next year?
I want to say maybe 30. Yeah, maybe 35, 36. Sounds all right.
And we looked at first baseman going into those darker years that were very, very good for a long time. And there is a fall off. And you just never want to be stuck with that bag. So if I'd rather take other options. I don't even want to risk it when it comes to drafting them. It's like, what you can get, what they were. They're still going to be good quality, but you just don't know what's going to happen long term sometimes in the season and where they're going to eventually fall off. We talk about Paul Goldschmidt, big cliff. And I forget who the other guy that was that we looked up, but it was very similar. All those numbers just drastically went down after, I think, the year 35, 36 years old. So just to keep an eye out. It's tough.
Yeah. I mean, I don't know. To me, Freddie should be a third or fourth round pick. I think what his name makes him a second round pick. And that's weird because, Josh Naylor should be a second round pick, but he'll probably go third or fourth because of the name. It's wild the value people put in name recognition when it comes to fantasy drafts. It kind of just blows my mind.
It's easy for people to do it. Fantasy baseball is not easy. We both know it's a lot of people to remember and understand how injuries work with certain injuries and the timelines, and there's a lot that goes into it. I don't know why I just said that example, but it's part of it though. Part of the whole process, and it's easy to latch on to the superstars. They're superstars. That's what Freddie Freeman is. That's what Mookie Betts is. But doesn't necessarily mean, that they're the top dog at their position. It changes not pretty often, especially those top 10 spots. People are always coming in and out of the league, Maikel Franco. Remember Maikel Franco from the Phillies, third baseman? He was considered the top 5 third baseman one year. And it's like, really? Him? Like, he didn't have this outstanding, luxurious career. Like, what are we talking about here? It changes all the time. But you just have these couple guys that people remember, and they think, well, they're going to do me good. Not necessarily the case. How did Mike Trout work out this year, right? Mike Trout, yeesh, tough year. Again, big names, Paul Goldschmidt. I mean, Bryce Harper was all right, but you had better options at that position. It's just, yeah, you can't do that. You got to see what's coming up next, and who's actually trending in the right direction. It's changes.
Yeah, no, it's. I mean, it's fun to talk about for sure. Like I said, I had Freddie, and it's amazing to see how he was last year versus this year. It's a cliff for sure. I mean, he made the who's not list because he had like 8 or 10 strikeouts and, ended up getting -2 or -3 points. And for a guy that, lives on making contact, it's tough to see. it is tough to see. I thought I built a really good team, but unfortunately, I didn't win, and I didn't win that league. At least I won one. Yeah, I don't think I'd want him again next year. I think if he's out there later on, yeah, we'll talk about it. But like the day for reaching for some of these guys should be over, in my opinion.
Yeah. It's just you got to do your research beforehand, and again, you got to be realistic with some of these things, especially with guys getting older. All the time always catches up. It's a very rare occurrence that someone outlives Father Time, especially in baseball. It just happens. We don't like it to happen, but it happens.
Yeah, it does. All right, let's take a break. We'll come back, and then we'll start breaking down division series. It gets a little better over on the other side. Trust me. So here's your chance. Go to the bathroom, fill up your drink. We'll be right back in about a minute and a half.
You're going back in?
There's still men out there.
God damn.
When I go home, people ask me, "Hey, Hoot, why do you do it, man? Why? You some kind of war junkie?" I won't say a goddamn word. Why? They won't understand. They won't understand why we do it. They won't understand it's about the men next to you. And that's it. That's all it is.
Find us on the web at mbradio.us.
I want to make it clear that the views expressed by our hosts are not considered the official stance of MBR Views. Remember, this is all about having fun and enjoying the ride.
And now the guys you just love to hate.
Trash. It's
garbage.
Man.
It's a dumpster fire, man.
It's a man.
Come on.
It's not.
Doug and Mike are back with more Bourbon and Ball.
All right, so we ended up breaking down the wild card series, each one of those, which was really fun. But now we go into the division series, and this is when the competition heats up just a little bit. So with that said, I will talk about the first series on here, which is boom. This one is actually still going on. Game 5 will be tomorrow. It is a best of 5. Let me read down. I mean, again, this wasn't really an exciting series so far. They weren't like a ton of standouts. You got game 1, the Cubs lost. It was 3-9. Brewers won. I mean, Jackson Churio went 3 for 3, but then he hurt his hamstring. Nico Horner, Michael Busch homered, and Freddie Peralta didn't look too bad. 9 strikeouts, 5 2/3, 2 earned. Pretty good start, right? Then the Brewers win game 2. So now they're up 2-0, 7-3. You got Mizorowski, that rookie phenom. He pitches out of the pen. He pitches 3 innings, 4 strikeouts, no earned. He gets the win. Shota, 2 2/3, 4 earned, 3 strikeouts in the loss. Saya Suzuki hits another home run. William Contreras, Jackson Churio hit another home run. So Churio comes back after going 3 for 3. Game 3, Chicago wins to stay alive, 4-3. This was pretty much just a bullpen day for the Brewers. Coach Council said right away, hey, we're going bullpen, which made sense for me. You're up 2 games in a 5-game series, rest your starters, go bullpen, and then come at them hard game 4 with your ace, right? Michael Busch has another home run, and Cubs win 3-4. So game 4, another must win for the Cubs. You got Freddie Peralta. This is the guy. This is the reason why they did a bullpen game, right? Give him the ball. Hopefully he comes out and closes it out. Well, that wasn't really the case. He went 4 innings, 3 earned, 6 strikeouts. Matt Boyd goes 4 2/3, 0 earned, and 6 strikeouts for him. Now, the play of the game, because the Brewers were shut out, came in the first by, I think, our good friend. And I think I have the video of that. So I think you're going to like this one. Ready for this?
Happ with a drive. Right.
Now, let me just watch that again.
Happ with a drive. Right field. Way back there. Gone.
Ian Happ comes on. He hits a 3-run shot in the first. Cubs go on to win. So now it's game 5, which will be played tomorrow. Takeaways, I mean, it's tough to say. I think based off of last series and this series, Michael Busch has a case to go a little earlier. He's playing good. He's playing really good. A lot of homers. Hitting over 300. I think he's got like 5 home runs this postseason already, 4 or 5, which is really good. Nico Horner, he looks really good. Shota, I mean, like we talked about, he's going to go later. I think Peralta will go the same, no matter how they end up. The real question mark for me is Jackson Chourio. This is a guy who came out the gate super hot, got hurt, super cold, and then has now turned it up the last week of the season, and now in this division series, he looks great. Where you drafted him? Which Jackson Chourio's coming for you next year? Which one is it going to be?
Honestly, I think it's about the same spot he went this year. I think he was a third, fourth rounder. I think you know what his ceiling is. I think the same thing with Jackson Merrill, too. I'm sticking to that. I think both those guys are going to be drafted just about where they were last year. Because, again, they turned it up at the end of the year. Jackson Chourio obviously had some injuries at the end of the year, but came back, obviously playing really good postseason baseball. Hopefully that momentum carries over. When he's out there and he's playing at the top of his level, I think he's one of the better outfielders out there. And he's only going to be 22 next year. He's so young still, so he's still maturing into this. And I think he's only going to go up from here. That's why I like him so much more than like a PCA. Because you can make the argument of the power, the stolen bases, the RBIs, all this and that. But Chourio, without the injuries, he just plays better quality baseball. And when he's out there, he does have those games where he does go whatever 0 for 4 with 4 Ks, as we know. But other than that, though, other than those games, he's very productive. So I'm sticking with him. I think that's a fine thing. Freddie Peralta, he's a fantasy stud, Doug. I mean, this guy is year in, year out. Gets the innings. He gets the, if you go back to that track record, he's a top 15 guy for the last 4 or 5 years now. He should be a staple in people's drafts. He's a guy that plug and play, number 3, number 4 pitcher, even number 2, you can make an argument for in your fantasy rotation. I'd like to get Freddie Peralta back next year because I don't think he's going anywhere.
Right. No, I agree. I agree. The only thing that with Freddie Peralta is his health. And same thing with Jackson Chourio. It's an early career, don't get me wrong, but it's the health. I mean, the guy's been on the IL twice this year. Once was, the hamstring one was a pretty extended period. My question to you is, who are you drafting? You gonna go Jackson? You gonna go Merrill Jackson or Jackson Chourio?
It's tough. That's a tough one. I'm probably going Merrill just because I think it's the better team, better lineup right now. Even though it's crazy to say that because I know they lost in the wild card and you still got the Brewers playing today, but I just think it's just a better fit for him in that lineup than it is almost Chourio. I don't think there's a wrong answer in this. I think they're about the same. I really do. I really do think there's not going to be one that's greater than the other by 100 points, unless there's an injury. But yeah, that's a tough one because I do like me some Jackson Chourio when he's healthy. I'm a big Jackson Chourio guy, but I'm also a Merrill guy too.
I think Merrill's going to have a lot less strikeouts, though. We both own Jackson Chourio this year, and we can both tell you that when he's not going, he is not going. At least Merrill, he's making contact. He might hit you like 100, but the strikeouts aren't nearly as high as they are with Jackson Chourio. We can both agree on that, right?
Oh, yeah.
I remember game 1, that's Jackson Chourio for 4 strikeouts, right? He set the tone. First game of the year. So
against the Yankees.
I agree. I know. I'd rather have Merrill. I would. Merrill, yeah, I'd rather have him too.
I'm a fan. I'm a big fan. He's just like you say, he's going to be 22 also. Like they're the same age, I think.
I compared those two like Scooble and Crochet. Like they're very similar. Very similar. It's tough to pick one. I mean, I think with Merrill and Churio, I can pick one though, because I'd rather Merrill. But with Scooble and Crochet, I don't think I could pick one. Like I don't, you know what I mean? I don't think there's really a reason you could make to say one guy's better than the other.
Yeah, that's what I think that's exactly what I'm saying with these two. It's like it's so tough to just be like, man, like this guy's going to be so much better. Like you're going to get a quality guy, I think, regardless.
Right, but to me, it's the strikeouts that'll be the difference maker between those two.
Yeah, yeah. I'm looking at Jackson Merrill right now. Looks like he had 115 games and he struck out 108 times. So, but then the year before that, though, 156 games and he only had 101. So that's a huge jump. But I also think injury had to do with some of that as well. I think he was playing through something earlier in the season when he had that big slump there.
Yeah, I agree. All right, so let's talk about this one's a fun one. Bam. Let's just dive right in. Oh my God. I have highlights for almost every game in this series because it's just so good. So I don't have yeah. Let's just dive right in. So again, best of 5. Man, Yankees lose the first game 10-1. You got I don't know why they brought Gill out there. He only goes 2 2/3. He had 2 earned, 2 strikeouts. Kind of bobbles my mind why you would start a series off with Gill. Vlad Jr., he is cementing himself as a playoff monster, right? I mean, the guy had 3 hits. He had a home run. Even Alexro Kirk, the catcher, he's been having a nice series as well. Excuse me. So you get game 2, right? And you're like, okay, well, who are the Blue Jays starting game 2? What's his name? Savage?
Savage.
Savage. And you're saying to yourself, man, this should be an easy win for the Yankees to come back, right? I mean, what happens? Well, Yankees lose 7-13. Most of those runs came after the 6th when the Blue Jays put in the bullpen. Savage goes 5 1/3. He has 11 strikeouts, and I have all 11 right here. And let me tell you something. They are things to watch. So here they are. Take a look.
And he begins with a strikeout. 1-2. And he begins with a strikeout. On another 2-2, a swing and a miss. 3 strikeouts in the first inning. Payoff pitch. From changing the narrative. Strikeout number 6. 2/3. 7. He strikes out the side in the 3rd. The Savage. Judge swings and misses. Run upstairs to get him with a fastball. He strikes out another former MVP. That pitch. There it is. Complete, utter dominance. 11 runs for the Jays and 11 Ks for Trey Savage.
Disgusting. Straight up disgusting. And then, I mean, to make it so much better, Vlad hits another home. So Vlad hits a grand slam, and I have that. And talk about a moonshot. Like, talk about like when everything's going right for a team. This is what happens.
Down, short toe, down, and ball.
Oh, baby! Goodbye! Vlad Jr. strikes again!
Just a complete blast, right? So let's talk that game for a little bit. Fried gets rocked. He gets taken out, right? It's weird. So you as far as like a fantasy perspective, right? You see Fried dominate. then he gets crushed. It's kind of like how his second half went. And so it tells me, maybe he'll go a little earlier, but maybe not as much. It's funny how, because you're in the playoffs and you're only seeing a guy for, a limited amount of time, one game to the next it's almost like a stock market, right? First game goes, he looks amazing, gets the win against the Red Sox, only gives up a couple runs, strikes out like 8 or 9, boom, is going up. Game 2, pitches against Toronto, gets rocked, goes back down. Like that's why the whole show is based off that. It's based off of playoffs, overreactions and reactions, underreactions. And to me, like, yeah, it's tough to really figure out Fried or Savage. Where's he gonna go? Like, he has this great start on the biggest stage he'll probably ever pitch at, right? Obviously they win the series and now they're going to ALCS, which is a bigger stage. But I'm saying if you're playing the Yankees in the world in the playoffs, you can't really get much bigger than that unless you're playing the Dodgers in the World Series, right? Because I mean the Yankees with the history, the mentality to always win, and now you're going out there and you're dominating. You have 11 strikeouts, you shut out that entire lineup, you strike out Judge twice, you strike out Bellinger twice, so you look good. Where's he going to go? And Vlad is making a case to go. The way he ended the season, if he didn't play in the playoffs, he'd probably go end of first, early second. Now, depending on how deep your league is, he's making a case to go in the first 5 picks. Right?
Yeah. But I think he could. I think he's leveling up in this series, or he did level up in the series. The moments that he had, just the confidence is oozing, he's kind of handling like he's been there before almost. So I feel like he is starting to go into like the level that we thought he was going to get to eventually, and I think he's getting to it now. So yes, top 5, not out of the realm whatsoever, especially for a position that's thin at first base. Max Fried, I still think is going to be just fine going into next year. And having that buffer with Cole in that rotation too, it's just, you want to make sure they all stay healthy, and that's going to be the determining factor if they're going to make a solid push again or not next year. But I do think Max Fried next year is going to be just fine. So I still draft him probably in that same realm as he did this year. We're talking 3rd, we're talking 4th round, we're talking top 10 pitcher. So I still think he's fine. Savage, though, it's funny because obviously I'm watching the game, I'm seeing what he's doing, and I don't really know much about him. And I looked him up and I said, okay, like what did he do during the regular season? And then I noticed that he just played 2 games in the regular season. So by the time he finishes this playoff series or this playoff run, he could potentially put more playoff games than he has in the regular season to start off his career. So what I'm getting at is there's also no track record. I have no idea about this guy. I'm not going out there like a dog and going in the 5th, 6th, 7th round like some savages might. But, I'm probably going to reserve myself. Maybe this is a guy that's late. I'm talking late pick because there's no track record. I'm talking like 15th round. I'm talking deep in drafts. This is a guy that, he had those couple good outings in Toronto during that playoff run. Yeah, maybe I'll take a stab at him. It could be like a Brandon Wu type situation, where he goes that late and then he could emerge as something. Who knows? But I want to pump the brakes, when it comes to the fantasy perspective. It's people get too excited. But let's talk about Shane Bieber, Doug. We're Bieber guys, right?
We are. So you're talking game 3. I do want to say, though, what makes this even more crazier, though, is the way Vlad's playing and Josh Naylor still had more points. That's wild.
Stolen bases, and no Ks. That's the formula.
So the Blue Jays make this big splash, and they go out and they trade for Shane Bieber. So Shane Bieber starts game 3. Unfortunately, he goes 2 2/3, gives up 2 earned, strikes out 2 guys. A lot of backlash for taking him out early. I think there were a couple high-name baseball former players. Vernon Wells, that's who it was. Vernon Wells put a tweet out and said, why you go out and trade for this guy, but then you take him out, not even 3 innings with like 40, like I think he had like 50 something pitches or something. Like what's the point? If you have a Shane Bieber, you keep Shane Bieber in. I get it, but at that point, I'm pretty sure the Blue Jays are just trying to sweep. Like, let's get this over with. Let's rest the team again and then start, the ALCS fresh. Everybody's can go, no holds bar. They're all rested. They're good. Put them out there. So I get it. Well, Bieber goes 2 3/3, 2 earned, 2 strikeouts. Rondon goes 2 1/3. He gives up 6 earned and 2 Ks. Blue Jays still lose 6-9. So Vlad hits another home run. But this, to me, what really wakes him up is Aaron Judge. And he's had a great series. I'll give you series numbers at the end. But look at this bomb. Like, he finally hits a home run, and it's a majestic shot.
Hits a drive.
I'll start that over.
On a 2-strike pitch. Hits a drive down the line. If it's fair, it's
Yankees are down 3-6.
It's tied.
He comes up, and this kind of jolts it. This just jolts the whole lineup. You're down 3 runs. You got 2 on. What do you need? You need a 3-run home run. Well, who's going to do it for me? Let's see if our captain can do it.
On a 2-strike pitch. Hits a drive down the line. If it's fair, it's his moment. It is. It's tied. Judge has arrived. If you keep giving him chances, like his regular season, the numbers are going to start turning. This was 3 inches. And that 3 inches off the foul pole may have turned this series and Aaron Judge into a different conversation.
For 10 years, that ball has sailed wide to the left.
Wow. I mean, I know, right? It's can't say you don't love baseball. It's very poetic. So he comes in, he jolts the lineup. He hits a 3-run shot to tie the game. Now you got Jazz coming in. He hits a home run. They end up winning 9-6. I don't know. I mean, I don't hate the decision of pulling Bieber. I don't. I get it. At that point, you just want to win. You're up 6. You're up 6 to it's 6-0. You pull them. It's 6-2 at that time, and then they give up another run, and then in the 4th inning you get the 3-run shot. To me, it's just bad luck. But to sit there and think that the Yankees were going to get swept, I mean, let's be honest. No one thought they would get swept.
No. The problem with Toronto too is that bullpen had a really bad second half. So I just hope that ugly head's not rearing its head now in the playoffs. But obviously they got through the series, so we know they're good and moving forward. But yeah, I think Shane Bieber, I can see the argument from Vernon Wells. I get it. You got this guy, he's supposed to go out there, he's supposed to pitch. Well, I don't know how many pitches, 40, 50 pitches or so, give or take. And they pull him after, giving up 2 earned runs. But we talked about earlier, though, a lot of these games, well, except this series, I feel like, but a lot of the games are usually low scoring, usually the guys that get on the board first got all that momentum and, it shifts. So, yeah, Bieber gave up a couple runs. He was in New York. Momentum's high, it's good vibes. And all of a sudden, you're like, well, I'm going to pull the guy, and I don't hate it. I don't think it's the worst decision to ever make. Like you said, you have to be decisive in these playoff games. So not the worst thing in the world. But, from a fantasy perspective, though, with Bieber, I still think he's still a valuable pitcher, but not maybe a 5th round pitcher. But I can see him, being a nice little scoop up pick, in the 8th, 10th round. That'd be a nice guy to snag. He's going to have a full season under his belt moving forward. Plays for a competitive Toronto team. So there's some things to good like there. Not going out of my way, but again, 8th, 10th round, I can get a Shane Bieber with a pretty decent ceiling. Who knows?
Yeah, no, that could be a steal. I think he might go. I'd probably say 6th, just because for our league, anyways. Just because the Robs of the world who love Shane Bieber are gonna reach.
So in our league that we're redrafting, right?
We'll talk about that later. All right, so we go into game 4, right? Blue Jays end up winning the game. This is the game where this is a bullpen game for the Jays. They said, you know what? We're up 2-1. Let's get a bullpen game. Maybe that'll change the flow of it. Maybe we can get a win, go home. If not, we'll be fully rested to take them on for the make or break game 5. So they end up winning this game. They, which is crazy because they went up against the hero of Fenway, Cam Schlittler, who did pitch well, 6 1/3, but he gave up four runs. 2 were earned and 2 K. And I think it's safe to say that maybe Jazz Chisholm lost this game for the Yankees. He made one of the most bizarre plays ever. And when I watch it on video, and I'm going to show it to you in a second, it's kind of like he almost anticipates it. Like, it's just so easy. He's like, okay, you know what? I'm getting ready to scoop it up and throw it home. And watch the catcher when he picks this up. Watch Austin Wells when he scoops this up. Here it is right here. I'll start this over because you got to watch it right off the bat.
That's a shot up the middle that Chisholm can't field. That's a shot up the middle that Chisholm can't field. It was a scorcher, but he should have had it. And instead, 1st and 3rd for the Blue Jays.
So when he picks that up, it's funny because you see Austin Wells say, because it was 2 outs. All you need is to pick it up. You can throw it to first. So he scoops it up, and then you get the catcher saying, throw it to first. And, it just doesn't look good. But to me, that kind of blew the game for them. And because the Yankees did have a chance to end up winning. The Blue Jays bullpen really held it down. It was a great game for them. For the series, you had Vlad. He hit 529. Varsho hit 438. Infielder Clement, 643. And then the Yankees, you got Judge with 500. But then listen to this. You got Trent Grissom, 138. Bellinger, 214. Stanton, 192. Jazz, 182. Volpe, 192. I mean, Goldie was hitting 444, but he only played a game and a half. It's crazy. You had nobody hit over 220 except for Judge in that Yankees lineup. That's not going to win you games.
And again, 3-game, 4-game, 5-game series, whatever it is, that you're playing up to, you got to be good. You got to be good all the time. That's tough to do. Series in, series out. That's extremely tough to do. But you got to do it down the stretch here. You got to show up. And, like you said, Bellinger didn't really show up. Jazz didn't show up. Goldie, did. But really, what he brings to the table isn't as valuable as some of those other guys that should be showing up. So it's a little disappointing for sure. Obviously as a Yankee fan, you could, moat and pout about it. And, but you can at least get the takeaway. You beat the Red Sox, and, now potentially playing the team that's going to go to the World Series in the American League that you lost to. So there's a lot to be said there, I think, as a Yankee organization. I don't know what they're going to do moving forward. It's going to be interesting. They got a lot of holes, I think, as well. I think some of those guys, I think they got a lot of contracts that are big. I think they got to do something with some of those guys. So, yeah, who knows? I think they're going to add on some bats, though. They're going to make some signings. They're going to try to make some splashes.
I will say, it's good to see, the Blue Jays fans just go, wild. It's a great thing to see. And to me, I think the key to the whole series was winning your first 2 games. And obviously you're winning 2 games. You only need 1 more. But I'm saying if you lose one of those games and you go 1-1, then you take the series to Yankee Stadium for 2 games. And it's like, well, the Yankees will probably at least win one of those games. So now you're looking at a game 5. So I think to go and at least win your first 2 and be like, okay, listen, we have 2 games in Yankee Stadium. Atmosphere's wild. We don't know what's going to happen. The fans are crazy. They like to get under your skin. Let's just try to win one of these games and finish it up. Worst case scenario, they beat us 2 games at home, but then we come back to Toronto, come back to home. But it's fun to see. And then, of course, at the end of it, you got
Yankee lose. The Yankee lose. Let's go, baby. Let's.
And then, of course, you got him rubbing it in a little bit to the A-Rod and the Juniors of the world. So
that's what I'm saying. He's a polished man. He's a polished. He's leveling up.
So you go into a fun series like that into another fun series. And I know this was a bigger series to watch. This to me was like a World Series of series. You know what I mean? You know, when teams play to make the World Series, but then sometimes the matchups are better than the World Series themselves. This particular matchup would almost be better than the World Series. You have 2 juggernauts, 2 teams. Obviously, you know, one's better than the other on paper, right? I mean, we can both agree the Dodgers are probably the better team. And of course they won 3-1. And we'll go over numbers, but it was a great series to watch. I mean, you know, if you're a Dodgers fan, it's what you want to see. You got, you know, game 1, you're winning 5-3. Ohtani goes 6, 9 strikeouts, 3 earned. Teoscar Hernandez hits still on fire, hits a 3-run shot in the top of the 7th to put the Dodgers up. Then your bullpen, you throw in Tyler Glasnow in the bullpen. You got Roki coming out of the bullpen. You got Kershaw coming out of the bullpen. You could tell how bad they wanted to win this game because they're in Philly. Same mentality. If we could take a game in Philly and then play 2 games at home, we might have a chance to just win this in 4, right? So to me, this game really came down to the Phillies bullpen. They blew the game. The offense went cold. Schwarber had 3 strikeouts. Harper had 2 strikeouts. So now you're still in Philly. You're going in game 2, and you're going up against a big acquisition, one of the big acquisitions that the Dodgers have in Blake Snell. And what does he do? He dominates. 6 innings, no error, 9 strikeouts. I have the video. And this video, it looks like slow motion, but it's actually meant to be that way because it's showing you some of the stuff that he has. And it's a great video. So take a look right here. And I'll start it over because it'll probably start out a little.
Got him. 2-2 to Trey Turner. And that's a call. Quickly 0-2 on Castellanos, and he got him. 1-2 the count. And a count. And Snell, what he does here. The 1-2. And Turner, a swing. And a swing. They know about me that I don't know about me. Snell. Lemke.
Yeah.
Otto Kemp gets his chance and a swing at a miss. Turner, great speed at second base. And Harper.
Yeah, it's getting to be too much. But it's fun to watch just because a lot of off-speed stuff there. You know, the fastballs break, you know, the breaking ball's there, the fastball's there. I mean, you know, if anybody's stock, in my opinion, you know, has gone up. It's Blake Snell's. You know, Dodgers bullpen, they almost blow the game in the 9th. Roki comes in for a 1-out save with runners on. That's another person's stock. Him and Snell, to me, have. I think Snell will go a little higher than he did this last year for sure. The only thing is the hesitation with him is health. And Roki, it's going to be interesting to see what they do with him. You know, he looks the part of a closer for sure, but you're not paying him closer money. So I don't know what you would possibly do with him, you know?
No, I think he could be potentially that 6th man now, right? With Kershaw leaving, he's going to be part of that rotation, I think, next year going into it. You know, and then he's going to build up his innings, right? We talked about going into this year, how many innings he's pitched in Japan in a full season. It wasn't that many. I think it was, 127 or something like that. I think it wasn't a lot. But yeah, it was it's fun to watch him emerge in that role because of just kind of the season that he had. Just not a really good showing in his first year. We had high expectations. He went in the 10th round in our draft up this past year, so there was a high expectation for him. And he just didn't live up to it yet. But maybe this is the turnaround. Maybe this is the confidence, right, that he's going to need to go into the offseason and maybe fix some of those things that he had last year that he had issues with. So he's going to have opportunities. But I agree about Blake Snell. He is a part. He is the guy that is that 2-time Cy Young winner stud, And like I said, we needed to make sure that he stayed healthy to get to this point of the season, and he did. So same thing with Glasnow too. I know we're going to talk about him in a second too, but yeah, both those guys super important about the health. And then now you throw in Yamamoto, like it's a great trio right there, people of a rotation. So next year, Blake Snell, dude, he's on my radar. I want to let you know that right now, Doug.
Listen, it is a great rotation, but the question will always stand every year: injuries. They all have it.
Yeah.
I mean, hey, they can go out and they can perform in the playoffs. There's no doubt about it. They're showing you that right now. All of them. Snell, Yamamoto, Glasnow, they look amazing. But in terms of regular season, in terms of consistency in the regular season, it's tough to see it. I mean, Glasnow looked really good the first half, and then he got hurt and didn't look good. Yamamoto looked great the first month and a half, couple clunkers, and then, kind of was average, I would say, maybe toward the end. Snell, I mean, God, I don't even remember seeing him much. I mean, he like disappeared and just came back for the playoffs for some apparent reason. So, and there'll be a 6-man rotation. So for me, the hesitation with them is, and I'll say it just like I did last year, if you're going to go if you're going with a Dodgers pitcher, I would only go one. And I wouldn't go more than one, just because, there might be a time where there's a rain delay and it's a 6-man rotation and now they're getting skipped. Or, now that one start that he was supposed to make on Sunday, because it's a 6-man rotation, now gets pushed to the next week. So you don't even get a start that week in a weekly lineup. So there's a lot of question marks with that rotation and a lot of things you kind of got to balance, in my opinion.
Yeah, it happened to me this year with Blake Snell. Had him in the rotation. I don't know if it was an off day, skip day, whatever, but he got pushed back, and I wasted a roster spot because of it. You really got to check what day he is pitching. If it's earlier in the week, maybe he'll get that rebound in the weekend. But even the fact that we're even just having this conversation right now should be concerning, right? So yeah, I'm cool with your rule there. I think it's a very good rule to have one Dodger pitcher. Don't go overboard with it. But if I had to pick one, though, I still think I'm leaning toward Blake Snell.
Yeah, I know.
Even with the injuries.
You know what? I don't think you could go wrong with Snell, Glasnow, or Yamamoto. Like when they're going, they're going. That's it. All of them have history of giving up clunkers once in a while. All of them have kind of health history, except for Yamamoto this year. He was pretty healthy for the most part. So, I mean, honestly, I don't think you could go wrong with either of them. Really, I'd put Yamamoto a little ahead of all of them just because of the year he had. He was healthy, but other than that, you really can't go wrong with either of them. So then we go. Yeah, no, it's true. Yeah. So then we go into Game 3. It's kind of must win for the Phillies. They're in LA now after losing 2 games at home, and you got Yamamoto pitching. So you're like, all right, you know what, Yamamoto, this is a win for us. Let's go on. Let's pull out the brooms and go home and get ready for the NLCS. Unfortunately, it did not work that way because Yamamoto does what he does once in a while. He throws a clunker, right? 4 innings, 3 earned, 2 strikeouts. I mean, the Phillies, they're so desperate they had Aaron Nola go. He went 2 innings. He gave up no earned. He got 3 strikeouts. He looked good. You got Suarez, who went 5 innings after that, gave up an earned in 4K, so he looked all right. Tommy Edmonds homered. That was nice to see. But Schwarber, 2 home runs, keeping the Phillies alive. He is cementing himself as a top 2, top 3, third round, fantasy pick. Take a look at these bombs right here. And there's no slow motion with these bad boys.
Have been a major story.
Oh my God.
Dodger starters have been a major story.
Oh, look at the Yamamoto face.
Gonna send
face. He knew it.
Dodger starters have been a major story. Schwarber gonna send one way out of here. How far will it fly? My goodness. Kyle, that is one of the biggest bombs you will ever see. And the Phillies tie it up immediately on a Schwarber bomb here in the 4th.
Well, I figured 2-0, you might see a split coming right here. No, sir. He gave him the fastball, and Schwarber, as good as there is hitting that pitch, 455 feet.
And now Schwarber, a high towering fly ball. That one is deep. Hernandez will watch it fly. It's another bomb. Kyle Schwarber open here in the 8th. 8-1 Philadelphia.
I did not know if that was going to travel enough. I mean, it was so high, 109 off the bat, but straight in the air. But Kyle Schwarber so
tough to see. Verlander goes in. Verlander. Kershaw's there. He has one of the worst outings ever for a reliever in history. Forget playoff history, just in history alone. Phillies win the game, and then you go on to game 4. This one's got a bunch of highlights too. I'm going to try to run through them because time's getting a little compressed a little bit. Only about 20 minutes left. Still got to talk about the Tigers and Mariners. Great game. Listen, Phillies lose. They only score a run. Talking about Tyler Glasnow, he goes 6, 8 strikeouts, no earned. Take a look at these strikeouts. I mean, this is what they're going for, man. This is why you sign them.
With 2 outs and a 0-2 pitch. Schwarber working with, he said. The 1-2 runner goes. Have a double in the 1st. And a swing. Got him.
God, he had everything working. He had heat. I mean, it was even his changeup right in the corner. That was a great strikeout. So Roki comes in. He goes 3 innings, 2 strikeouts. Christopher Sanchez looks pretty good. He gave up a run, 6 1/3, 5K. But Dodgers win, and they win by an error. Take a look at this error. This is tough to see. The pitcher on the mound kind of just stays there after everybody's celebrating around him. It's just what a way to end.
Pages breaks his bat. Kirkring. Pages breaks his bat. Kirkring. Got to find it. Throws to the plate. Oh, my goodness. He throws it away. And the Dodgers have won. The Dodgers win. And they are moving on to the NLCS.
Again, 2 outs. All you got to do is throw to first or get it out. You saw JT Realmuto there pointing, just throw it to first. Didn't expect the ball. I mean, that's just adrenaline, really, at that point. So they go on to win it. Some things I get from a fantasy perspective, though. You got Turner, who only hit 235. Schwarber, even with the 2 home runs, 188. Harper, 200. I think JT Realmuto was your only guy hitting over 300. He hit 353. I think from a fantasy perspective, this should kind of tell you Harper might be a little bit overrated, like we talked about. Philly staff looks good. I think you're high on Sanchez, you're high on Ranger. They'll probably go earlier than they did this year. And then on the flip side, Ohtani, 148, Betts 385, another great series. Hernandez 308. And you got Freddie with 217. Sasaki, he didn't give up a run. I think he's showing he might be the guy that everybody thought he would be. But yeah, great takeaways. Like I said, it's Schwarber, you know what you're getting. He's a hit or miss, right? So, but he's been hitting a lot. So I think he might go earlier. Harper probably later. Turner maybe a little later because he's older. But other than that, you might see, the Philly staff will go earlier too. I think Ranger had a really good year. I think Christopher Sanchez had a good year. I'll tell you who's not going really early at all. Aaron Nola. Aaron Nola.
I agree with all of that. Yeah, I think there's some higher stock in the Phillies rotation with some of those other guys. But yeah, Aaron Nola didn't do himself any favors this year. So yeah, he's going to be a late bloomer. He's a flyer, right? I'm talking after 10th round for sure. I'm not reaching for him. I'd rather have a Jesus Luzardo than an Aaron Nola next year. So, but yeah, I tend to agree. Everyone's going to be a year older, so with caution. Harper, Turner, right? We talked about Harper already. So, yeah, this Seattle series, Doug, it's heating up. Had some action, huh?
I do like it, although I only have a couple highlights just because they're like the wins are like team wins. You know what I mean? It's like it's not one person coming in and doing heroics. It's a team effort. You got game 1, Tigers win 3-2. J-Rod hits a home run. He has an RBI single, and I think his stock went up a little bit this postseason because of how he's performing. And then for the Tigers, like I said, it's kind of a complete win. You got Kerry Carpenter coming in there, Javier Baez. Who would have thought with them kind of hitting decent for them, and Riley Green. Then you go game 2, right? The Mariners finally win it, tie the series. It's Tigers 3, Mariners 2. You got Jorge Polanco. He had 2 solo home runs off Skubal, and this was like pretty much a must-win game, in my opinion, for this team. So to do that off of Tyreek Skubal in game 2, I mean, his stock kind of has gone up too. He had a pretty good finish to the year and then a good playoff right now. Going to game 3, Gilbert looks the stud. Mariners win 8-4. Gilbert goes 6 innings, 1 earned, 7 strikeouts. His stock is probably going up. Flaherty, trash, 3 1/3, 3 earned, 6K. His stock went down really bad. Eugenio Suarez gets his first home run. Cal Riley gets his first home run. I have that video of that home run, which was nice to see him get off to that. Let's take a look at that bomb real quick.
Cal is from. In Cullowhee, that's where Cal is from. He sends one the other way. Well struck ball, deep left field, and gone. Raleigh's first of the playoffs, and it's 8-1 Seattle. They are feeling it.
Fastball up and away.
Yeah, I think
fastball up and away.
See the fan that catches it.
Didn't try to do anything too much. Just took it with him. Oh, great pick right there.
He literally has a shirt that says "Dump here."
Oh my word.
That's pretty funny. And then, of course, after the game, man, I mean, Cal Riley, right? There he is. Dump here. Meets him, makes a couple trades for the home run ball, obviously, and then it's just good to see. Good to see. Good to see. Just, I mean, there's not much you can say. It's a tough series, and then game 4, you got Tigers coming back and winning 9-4. And now we're in a must win. So as far as stocks. We've talked about the Tigers. Let's talk Mariners stocks here, right? J-Rod, I think, is probably where he should be, right? I think he'll be where he was this year, the 3rd or 4th round or something like that, 4th round maybe. That seems right. I think Josh Naylor's stock should go up. Will it? I don't know. I think it should, definitely. We talked about he was number 1 in first baseman for fantasy points. Jorge Polanco was a surprise. He actually had finished a top 6 for second baseman. So he might go up. And then the staff, like Gilbert looks good. Kirby was pitching good until he just gave up that two-run bomb to Kerry Carpenter a little while ago. Well, so Detroit's up 2-1. But that Mariners staff they're all good. I think they're all good. They're all kind of gonna. I think they'll be drafted in about the same area. I think the only person that'll be drafted later would be Luis Castillo.
Yeah. Yeah, I think that's fair. I think George Kirby was on the radar on a lot of people's teams this year going into the season before his injury, having that right shoulder inflammation, and then missing the first part of that season. And then Logan Gilbert, same thing. Really on people's radars early on for pitching. I feel like the cat was out of the bag with all that too. With Seattle this year, they knew they were going to have a good rotation. They knew they had a chance to make a solid playoff push. But I think all those guys are on everyone's radar now. There's no overlooking those guys, especially George Kirby. I'm such a George Kirby guy. That's a guy I really do want to get my hands on next year that I wish I got my hands on this year. But I do think, like, I'm not just because I'm like, Joe Ryan, for instance, that was a guy that I wanted this year. Because he's just kind of a solid dude. And this year, not so much, like kind of fell off a little bit. But George Kirby, I think, is a little bit of a level up from that. And I think can give you some really good quality wins, quality starts. He does strike out a decent amount of batters too. So, yeah, he's definitely going to be on my team, I think, at some point next year for sure. I'll probably even have to trade for him if I need to. But the funny thing is, though, with this game, Doug, he pitched. He was in the 6th inning. He gave up a double, and then they yanked him. And then the next guy that came in gave up the 2-run shot. And I'm looking at the stats, Doug. He had 5 innings pitched. That was only his 3rd hit that he's given up. And he had no walks with 6 Ks. And I know he just gave up a double, but do you pull a guy when he's only 66 pitches in, pitching like that? Don't you let him try to work out of that, even with a 1-0 lead?
I would probably keep him in, and then if that runner scores, then pull him, give him a little bit of a leash, but not a crazy one. I don't know if I would have put in, because I was looking at the stats too, and I did see that. But, you put in Spear, like if this is a must-win game here, you take the brakes off and you put in Luis Castillo. Like you put in Logan Gilbert. You don't put in these guys who have a 6.7 ERA in the playoffs. You just don't do that in must-win games. To me, the perfect script was written by the Diamondbacks, and their must-win games. What did they do? Schilling and Randy. Like they rubbed those guys down your throat. How many games did they pitch together in the play? I think 3 games. At least going back to back like that. That's why they won the MVP. I mean, that's what you do in a must-win game. You don't put in Spear. You put in the guy who started game 1, which was, I believe, Luis Castillo. I don't know. That's what I would do. But it's some of these managers, it's like you're getting too pretty, and it's not for you. It's not good. It's not.
No, and I think this is just inexperience. Right, Seattle hasn't been in the playoffs in forever. Who their manager is, he doesn't have that experience. So it's not like an AJ Hinch or, even Alex Cora or Aaron Boone, who've been in playoff games multiple times and understand what needs to get done to get through the game correctly without the criticism. So I don't know. I wouldn't be surprised if we hear more about this later on if Seattle ends up losing. I wouldn't be surprised if this becomes a news story.
I still think Seattle's going to win. I'm looking at Skubal. He's got 95 pitches and 5 1/3. He's got 12 strikeouts, which is great. But this is going to be his last inning. He'll probably be almost at 100 pitches. So you got to figure they'll pull him after this. He's got 96 now and 5 2/3. And Cal Riley's up. So it's either going to be strikeout number 13 or he's going to be an earned run. This will be his last. I still think Seattle's going to win this game. I really do. Honestly, I think Seattle, if they do win, they're going to World Series. I think they could beat Toronto.
Yeah, that's a tough. That's going to be a great series if that's the case. And I'm really hoping for the Cubs to pull through tomorrow. Because those Cubs and Dodgers played early on this year, and they had some great games early on in the season. And I think the Cubs took the series too. So that's what I want to see. I know great season Milwaukee, but I would like to see Blue Jays Seattle, and I would like to see Cubs Dodgers.
Right. What's your World Series matchup? Who's taking it?
My World Series matchup is going to be, I think it's going to be simple. Blue Jay Dodgers. I think that's what it's going to be. A little different. Dodgers are built tough. I don't think they're going anywhere. And yeah, they're the juggernaut still. They're still number one until they're not.
How many games?
5.
Dodgers in 5.
Yep.
Hey, Scooble got his 13th strikeout. 99 pitches. So I don't know if they'll bring him out. They might bring him out for the 7th.
Dude, what a monster. What a machine.
Well, it'll be the middle of the lineup for Seattle if he does come out in the 7th. So he'll be facing Naylor. He'll be facing Eugenio Suarez. Be a fun inning to watch for sure.
Yeah, that's a good game. It's going to go down to the wire.
Yeah, I think to me, I think the Dodgers are just going to win it all. It's just how it is, man. It's 5 or 6. How many games and who? If they play Toronto, I think they might go 6. I think Toronto could give them a little run for their money. I do. Just because the clunkers that Yamamoto could pitch or Glasnow, they play Seattle. It might go 7. I'm going to say that. Just because the Seattle staff is just so it's good. It's good. And and to me, I think their staff could go toe to toe with the Dodgers, and they do. I mean, there were times in the season where that Dodgers lineup was shut down for a couple of games. So it's been done in the past. Not to say they'd win, but I still think the Dodgers would win. But they could give them a run for their money. I think they can give them a better run for their money than Toronto.
I tend to agree with that, just with the rotation alone.
Yeah. All right. Well, we went around. We talked about wild card. We talked about the divisional series, which is still going on. So overall, pretty fun, man. It's fun to talk about these playoff games because the implications they have in fantasy is real. I mean, you'll see it in your drafts, and that's why we like to talk about it and bring it up. And next week we'll talk about the the ALCS and the NLCS, and probably have a little more overreactions for that as well. It's going to be fun to talk about. So, any parting words, Mikey V?
No, I don't think so. I think it's just we're in off-season mode, Doug. We're just going to enjoy baseball until the end, until we don't have it. So
that's it. After the World Series, we're showing reruns.
reruns, and then we're going to have to start building our draft boards again.
I know. That's the best part, though. But, all right. Well, yeah. So for Mikey V, I'm Doug. This is Bourbon N Ball. I'd say finish your drink and go to bed, but I want to say finish your drink and watch this next inning for the Detroit Mariners game, because it is going to be, I think it's going to be a great inning. You got the bottom of the 7th. They're at home, and they got the heart of the order coming up with a chance to tie this game. So Josh Naylor, let's go. Right. All right. So have a good night, guys, and we'll see you next week. All right.
Ladies and gentlemen, thank you for tuning in to Military Broadcast Radio. As we wrap up today's show, we want to remind you that the podcast of today's episode will be available right after we go off the air. So if you missed any part of the show or want to listen again, be sure to check it out. And remember, we're here to support and honor our veterans. Your stories and experiences matter, and we are committed to giving you a platform to share them. That's right. We're here to give our veterans a voice. So don't forget to catch the podcast and stay connected with us. giving our veterans a voice.